Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AP Music Theory. This is Music Impossible. We're on lesson number 8, and I'm Professor Jim. Today, we're going to dive into syncopation, and today's lesson, lesson 8, will be in two parts, lesson 8 and 8a, where we will finish up all of the items in chapter 2, and then start preparing for your next chapter exam. All right, now let's head over here to Sibelius, and what do we mean by syncopation? So syncopation is just essentially anything that does not occur on a regular basis on a strong beat. We learned in week 1 about strong and weak beats and different time signatures, and here we have 4/4 time. Strong beat is beat 1, weak beats are 2 and 4, and beat 3 is kind of in between strong and weak. And so anytime we really aren't playing music on a beat, or we're not playing consistently on those strong beats, we're going to consider that syncopation. And most commonly, you might see a figure something like this. Let's see. Where everything is on the offbeat. And if I were to come over here, and I don't know, let's go ahead and add maybe another voice here. A metronome kind of thing, maybe just a wood block. We'll add that to the score, and we'll set that up as kind of a metronome for us. And we'll hear what that sounds against our syncopated piano notes here. Other than the downbeat, the strong beat, where we play on that beat 1, everything else is on the and of the beat. One and one and so that's traditional syncopation, and that's very unoriginal syncopation, but that's the basis of it. And we're going to look at a couple of examples today of that syncopation, do a little bit of listening as well. Let's take a look at maybe one of the more popular standard jazz tunes of all time. We have In the Mood. In the Mood starts off, and this is just a reduction of, obviously a reduction of the total piece. It's for big band, saxophones, trumpets, trombones, and then piano set bass. And what we see is the beginning, ba-da-doo-da, just a straightforward 4 swung 8th notes there, but then lots of syncopation after that. Ba-da-doo-dot, dot, 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 ba-dee-dot, ba-da-dot, doo-dot, da, ba-doo-dot. And even the accents that we're going to hear in the recording, you get a sense of the syncopation, not just with the rhythm, because sure, that's there too. You know, we have very clear syncopation right here in these sort of 4 8th notes in a row, but also the way that this song is accented. Ba-da-doo-dot. A lot of times the and of beats in jazz, standard jazz, have lots of accents on them. So we have a syncopation here on the and of 4, and then we're going to have accent there. Ba-da-doo-dot, ba-da-dee-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-dum, da-da. Here's a syncopation right here on the and of 3 in bar 6. And then when we get into the melody, the first theme here, every third note is accented, and it's the higher note of the bunch. And that also gives us a sense of syncopation, not just the rhythm, but also how the performance is done. And that theme continues on throughout the piece. So not only do we see syncopation in the rhythm, but we can also hear it and feel it the way that we accent or perform even what looks like straight 8th notes, or in this case, swung 8th notes. Let's go over here to the land of YouTube. And we're going to listen to a little bit of this track, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the music one more time. Let's see if we can pick out some of those accents and syncopations. Take a listen. Da, 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 da. So you get the idea. Da, 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 da. So everything, even the accents, when it looks like it might be straightforward eighth notes or swung eighth notes, doesn't often come off off sounding that way because of the way that it's performed. Very accented in that particular classic performance of In the Mood, where almost the other notes that we hear in this first theme are almost ghosted. You almost hear like these notes here are ghosted, and they're there. You can tell they're there, but they're not as perceptible as those accented notes. Da, 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 da. Really, those accent notes are much bigger. So that's the style of this particular era of music and this particular composition as well. Not only do we have these accents, but everything else feels a little bit ghosted along the way. And just before this time, the 1940s, just kind of when the big band movement started, we also had ragtime music. And ragtime music was really one of the first introductions that we had to jazz music. And here's The Entertainer here by Scot Joplin, a little excerpt from it. And you can see right here from the beginning where these notes are tied. By the use of ties here, we kind of get a dee da 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 dee da da da. That sort of repeated pattern where the one E and the of beat one, the other of beat one, the of beat one here, one E and are tied over, therefore offering us some syncopation. We also feel a little bit of an accent there. And so even from the opening there, 4 bars, we get a little syncopation there in our theme. And then this sort of classic da 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 ba da 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 ba da da. We get this accent here. But this is straightforward syncopation right here. 1 E, 2, and where everything, a lot of these notes are syncopated. So we do get a note here on count 1, but notice it's a lower note. And so that C right here is going to pop out a lot easier. And then we have on count number 2, a weak beat. We do have a note right there on the beat, and it's a higher note, but it's on a weak beat. So it doesn't have as much impact as if that higher C was on beat number 1. And so we sort of get this idea of syncopation, even this tie here, where this note is tied over to count 2, and we don't start playing till E and So if I were to count this, I'm probably going to mess this up because this is kind of hard. So we have 1 E, 2, and E and 1, E and E and 1. There we go. I think I got it right. So a lot of times we don't even say the number 2 in a lot of these. We have count 1 starts here, count 2 starts here, so we get to say number 2 there. We don't say 1 here because it's tied over. Yeah, we don't say count 2 here because again tied. We get to say count 1 there. We don't say count 2 there because of the tie. And then we have to say count 1 there. So a lot of times the 1s and 2s as we count this aren't even articulated simply because the ties and the syncopation that's written. Let's listen a little bit to The Entertainer. We'll come back over here to YouTube land. Let's take a little bit of listen to The Entertainer. One of the interesting things is that bass line is fairly steady, where we're getting bum, bum, 1, 2, 1, while all that syncopation is happening in the right hand in the melodic section of the piece. Ba-da-doo-da-doo-da-da. Again, even the melody there, that theme there in the first 2 bars, or first bar, dee-da-boo-da-ba, those lower notes are ghosted a lot like we hear in the Mood recording. All right, that's all we have on syncopation. Next time we are going to look at a different type of syncopation called hemiola that's been around since the classical time and has some more modern relevance as well. We'll talk a little bit about some notation guidelines, and then we'll be ready to wrap up Chapter 2 and get ready for our test. All right, we'll see you all next time for the next lesson, Lesson 8A.